Good evening, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm David McConnell, originally from McCook. I left after graduation, had to get out of here and see the world for about 11 years with the United States Air Force, where I worked law enforcement. I came back after realizing that I wanted to raise my boys in this community because this is the best place, in my opinion, to raise children. I was lucky enough that while I was here, the Army offered me a full-time job supporting the Reserve Center, so I was back to being in the military, not only serving my community, but serving my country. And the Army was nice enough to send me over to a couple of tours in support of the Iraq War. Got done with that. I retired 2 years ago. Some of the things that I did while I was in the Air Force, like I said, I was a law enforcement specialist. I was a desert patrolman, which was the equivalency of being a border patrolman. We patrolled 2.7 million square acres of bombing ranges, removed illegal aliens from Air Force property, ran drug interdiction missions against unauthorized aircraft. I was also a base patrolman. I was responsible for the enforcement of traffic regulations, respond to assaults, domestic disturbances, vehicle accidents, thefts, suicides, and various other crimes. I was a member of the emergency services team, the SWAT team, on 2 different installations. To clarify something, I went to 2 separate courses for that. One was a theater level and one was an Air Force level. It wasn't because I failed a course and took it again. There were some questions concerning why I listed it twice. 2 different schools. I had the privilege of being a law enforcement instructor in Texas. I taught cops how to be cops, SWAT team members how to be SWAT team members. I was a shift supervisor over in England, responsible for the training and duties of 14 other personnel. Ran the night shift. We also worked as a detention specialist in a jail over in the Philippines that held up to 18 prisoners at any time. Classifications ranged from minimum all the way to maximum. We held all the way from the petty crimes to actual murderers. I was appointed as the head guard while I was there and ended up being responsible for the overall safety of the guards and the overall day-to-day operations of the facility. Last thing I did was force protection while I was in the Army. We helped protect the soldiers in Iraq, made sure the measures were in place for the bombs, the mortars, and the rockets. I'm currently working on my degree in criminal justice management through Bellevue University, and I'm ready for your questions.
Good evening, Dave. It seems that in the news, particularly in the last few weeks, we've noticed security and safety issues, shootings in businesses, irate employees, things like that. And it just generally security and safety issues seem to be on the rise. And how would you approach things, from a Red Willow County perspective, to be more, or not even more, but just to be proactive? Because I think there's things that all of us try to do proactive today, but how would you approach what I told you about the rise in security and safety incidents?
On incidents such as these, employers and employees themselves, hopefully the business is that type that it's a team environment. And you watch out for each other, you keep an eye on each other, and when you start seeing something going wrong, you try to solve the problem. And when it gets to a point where you've got an individual that thinks violence is going to be the solution to his problem, that's when the friendship has to be taken to the level of reporting it. You don't report it, and your failure to report ends up in people getting seriously hurt or killed. I wouldn't want to live with that. That's where you've got to call somebody up and say, hey, we've got a potential situation here. Can you please come help us handle it? And that's where I would come into play.
How would you, as Red Willow County Sheriff, increase the response time and reliability of the department?
There needs to be some changes in the way responses are conducted. The patrol, or the sheriff's office, needs to be available 24/7, 365 days a year. There will be an on-duty deputy, an on-call deputy, backup upon backup upon backup. You have to have an appropriate level sitting there for any type of situation that occurs. In other words, if you've got traffic accident, you're going to need traffic control. Now all of a sudden the traffic accident's ballooned into something a little bit bigger where you need another officer. There always has to be a backup to your backup. That plan will be in place. We'll make sure it works. The deputies will respond when they're called out to do something. I want to get away from McCook police officers having to go outside the city limits to respond to incidents that are the responsibilities of the deputies. This is Red Willow County, and it's the Red Willow County Sheriff's Office responsibility to take care of it. I came back from my son's graduation in basic training. It was a very emotional experience last week. He is now wearing the uniform that I wore. I called a very good friend of mine and told him it moved me. He told me he would be shocked if it didn't move him, or if it didn't move me. He said that it was because of people like me that the youth today know what service means and the reason that they need to serve. He said I was a role model for the next generation, and he says I was the someone that they looked up to, whose morals and beliefs they could subscribe to. This is how my friends and family feel about me, and this is how I want the people of Red Willow County to feel about the Sheriff's Office. It may sound a little corny, but the Norman Rockwell poster of the police officer sitting on the bar stool at the ice cream store with a little kid looking up at him, that's what I want to go back to as law enforcement. I want to earn the respect of the youth and the people. I don't demand it. Any other information, you can go to davidforsheriff.com. Thank you for your time.